No, 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 no. 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 No, 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 no. No. No, 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 no. Yes.
1 year after the F-14A early, the F-14B will be added in the next update. With this, the F-14B comes with a Tiseo camera, a new, more powerful engine, and the first for the US non-premium tech tree, laser-guided bombs, and the Lantern pod. Of course, it now gets the AIM-9L, AIM-7M, and AIM-54C as upgrades to the F-14A's weaponry. It also makes it a more potent fighter for the 12.0 matchmaker. If I were to be asked, hell, it should be 12.3 just to make sure that poor MiG-21B's and F-4Fs don't have to deal with a far better F-14. But at the tail end of the dev blog, they teased a new weapon system that was to be introduced with the F-14B but did not specify what it is. So now we'll take a closer look at the F-14B and try to consider what's more likely to be this mystery weapon. The F-14B is an upgrade to the F-14A that began in 1984 when Grumman was awarded $984 million to upgrade the F-14 and A6 intruder. The next F-14 would be the F-14D, and it would be completed by 1992. In the meantime, while the F-14 avionics were being developed, an interim aircraft was needed, and it was decided to upgrade the F-14A with a new General Electric F-110 engines, digital avionics, and an enhanced radar. This was originally called the F-14A Plus, but was renamed in 1992 to the F-14B. The F-14B was eventually upgraded to the entire F-14D suite by the 2000s, with the exception of the AN/APG-71 radar, as the F-14Bs retained the enhanced AN/AWG-94 radar and AN/AWG-15 fire control system. The television camera system, known as TCS or sometimes known as the Tiseo, was also fitted under the nose. The F-14B that's coming to the game is most likely the post-1995 upgrade to the F-14B, primarily because the Lantern pod introduced to the Tomcat with the LTS, which entered service in 1996. From this, we know that the F-14B will have the upgraded AN/ALR-67 RWR, the ball countermeasures dispenser, and certain digital displays. The Lantern pod on the Tomcat was eventually upgraded with GPS INS capability, which allowed it to guide JDAM bombs, and that's what I think is the most likely candidate for the mystery new weapon system introduced with the Tomcat. By all means, the JDAM is not new to War Thunder. It was first attempted to be introduced in 2021 when the F4 EJ received the JDAM. Except that the F4 EJ didn't have the capability to guide JDAMs, and it was only mounted on the fighter for an air show. It was subsequently removed from the EJ and laid dormant in the files. How it worked in War Thunder originally was that you would designate a target using the CCRP function on bombs, but unlike dumb bombs, JDAMs could be dropped at any point and the bomb would attempt to adjust itself to get as close as possible to the target. I think that the JDAM is the most likely addition to the game, considering that it would introduce similar types of bombs in the game, like the French AASM on the Mirage 2000D, and would also be a way to introduce new aircraft into the game, such as the Su-24M with the CAB 500 SE, and the JH-7 for China with a plethora of satellite-guided bombs it can use. In the future, other nations can also receive more JDAM-equipped aircraft like the GBU-39 SDM on the Gripen, Israeli F-15s, and the Israeli Spice for the F-16 ICE, and the dual-mode paveways on basically any NATO aircraft with GPS INS or targeting pods. On the flip side, another possible addition would be the Mark 20 Rockeye bombs. These are cluster bomb dispensers that contain some 247 Mark 118 Rockeye heat bomblets. These are small bombs that weigh a total about 500 pounds on a system with a dispenser and bomblets. It is also incidentally the only cluster bomb unit that the F-14B used. This one's also a plausible choice considering it has more utility against tanks compared to something like napalm, which was also added. That and cluster bombs have more platforms to be dropped as they date back to World War II. The most popular World War II example and the one people have been demanding to be added for so long is the PTAM. 280 of which could be carried individually by the IL-2 or in 4x48 cassettes. It could penetrate about 70mm of tank armor with its heat, which was enough for the roof armor of any tank in World War II. For modern aircraft, Soviets have the RBK-250 and RBK-500, which have infrared homing anti-tank submunitions. The only caveat with Rockeyes is that only a few nations can have them in the modern times. Only the US, USSR, Israel, Sweden, France, and the UK might get cluster bombs for their high-tier aircraft. Italy and Germany had them during World War II, and the Italians only ever used them as anti-personnel mine delivery systems, the thermos bomb, so it's highly unlikely for them to get it. This is the reason I tend to lean towards the JDAM as the new weapon for the F-14B. Though China might get their cluster munitions not through an aircraft but through the PHL-81 rocket system with a Type 90 or MZD-2 cluster rocket. It's a 122mm rocket with about 40 heat charges. So I think we can keep that in the realm of fantasy in terms of war thunder vehicles, as at the moment China has more important vehicles that need to be added than a modernized rocket truck. Should the Rockeye be added, it would also be added for other US aircraft like the A4 Skyhawk, A6 Intruder, and the F-14. The UK will get their BL-755 cluster bomb on the Harrier GR3 and newer variants, the Jaguar GR1 and GR1A, and so on. Only Sweden and USSR have to wait for the bomb Capsule 90 and the RBK-500 respectively. Either way, we'll see what they have in store for us when the teaser and dev stream drop, hopefully around next week. I wouldn't expect much in the way of aircraft or ground vehicles, since Gaijin seems to be adamant that this is a naval update as evidenced by the Bravi destroyer and the bunch of French ships. Well, that's all I have for you today. Thank you for watching, and as always, Godspeed.